I think we're good. Hey guys, what's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome to another episode of the Melanated Files. My name is Ranzo, and
I'm Janique. How are you guys doing?
how are you guys doing today? It's a sunny day outside here in Tokyo. How are you guys doing? This is episode number 9 of the MFiles podcast, and we do have an update. All right, I told you guys last week that we will be doing something a little bit different. The podcast is going to change a little bit again. As I said, we are finding that right mode, that right calibration to get it flowing the way we want it to flow. So some of you guys have been asking this as well, and some of you guys understand or realize that some of our MFiles interviews run pretty long, right? So we have been receiving mixed reviews. So this is what we're gonna do. There's 2 things that we're gonna do to help solve that issue. For those of you guys who don't have the time to consume like a 60-minute interview or even longer,
Yeah.
80-minute interview, right? But we understand whenever the interviews comes out, I understand that the goal is to get the story in full, right? So it's not about entertainment, right? So when you see an interview that's like 59 minutes, you're getting the full story. No snippets, you're getting the full story. So what we're going to be doing is this. We're going to incorporate the interviews on this very same podcast as well. So this is a Melanated Files. Of course, we are a solutions-driven podcast, right? We have discussions about solutions that can help the Black community globally, right? So we're going to amalgamate the discussions along with the interviews, the MFiles interviews on this podcast. So we're going to select some episodes just to start out, right? And then going forward, each episode that will be available on YouTube, you can also listen to the audio version on the podcast as well. And you guys know we release multiple videos each week. So in addition to this discussion, right, this live podcast broadcast, we will also have the audio version of the MFiles interviews as well. So if you can't watch it, like sit down in front of your computer. If you ain't got YouTube Premium, right? Because if you got YouTube Premium, you can play it in the background when your phone is locked and you can't see anything. You can play it in the background there, and maybe in your computer as well. I think so. You can do that. If you ain't got that, you can go on the podcast, right? When you're driving to work or school, you can be playing it in the background in your car while you're jogging, right? While you're doing some chores around the house, you can be listening to the podcast, the MFiles, the interviews, that is, right, along with the discussion.
Yeah.
So the discussion is once per week.
Yeah.
And then you'll have multiple versions, or multiple episodes, I should say, of the MFiles interviews to listen to that as well. So you'll have it on YouTube and then the audio version on the podcast in addition to the discussion. So that's what we're going to be doing. That's one possible solutions, or solution, sorry, for those of you guys who don't have the time to sit down and watch these very, very interesting interviews. Like, you guys are missing out. I know that some people don't watch all of them because of the length. Some people say it's off-putting when they look and see like 60 minutes, 59 minutes. They're like, we ain't got time for that. But I some of those people, I'm like, you know what? Click on it. Start watching the interview, and you'll find yourself caught up in it. And you'll say, yeah, I like this. Because some of the ones that have been coming out, those long ones, they're pretty good.
They're really
right?
good.
So you need to, you're missing out, right? So just for those people who can't, sit down and watch an interview for like 59 minutes or even longer, because we got longer ones, believe it or not, you can play it in the background and get something else done while you're listening to it, right? So that's the announcement so far. Let's see who we got on right now. Do we have company?
Yeah, we have company.
Are we alone?
No, we're not alone.
We're not alone today. Okay, we got some people here. Let me see. Oh, look at that. Sugar. I love you guys. Oh, we love you too. We appreciate you. Thanks for coming on. Okay, let me hear some thoughts on what we just said. What I just said just now, guys. Let's see what you guys are saying. Let me open this, but I think I need to also.
Okay.
Okay, turn that down. Okay, let's see.
Somebody asked about the live streams.
Okay, let's
You wanna
see.
go into that?
Where is the chat? Guys, hold up. I'm trying to find this chat because it's so far away. I can't read it from this distance. It's just way too far. Oh, and even here, I still can't even read it.
Here, do you want
Okay, let me just look at this thing here.
No? Okay.
Let's see.
No one's really said anything in regard. Somebody just said hi family, true, but I'm not really sure if that's in reference to what you're saying.
Okay, let's see.
Sugar just said something.
Okay, so yeah, so the live streams. The live streams, I can't say we're committing to them 100%. The live exploration streams that we usually do on Sundays, well, initially it was on Saturdays and then we moved it over to Sundays, right? So Sundays at 2 p.m. GST, Japan Standard Time, that's when we usually had the live exploration streams. We haven't had it in about a month, I think. So I think tomorrow is going to make it like a month and a week, like what, 5 weeks thereabout that we haven't had it. But tomorrow we're gonna try. I'm gonna see if we can do a live podcast, not a podcast, a live exploration stream next week. Let's see what happens with that. Let me know what you guys think about. Well, then again, it doesn't really matter because we're gonna be implementing that. So you will have the audio version, as I said, of the podcast, the interviews on this same podcast as well. We were contemplating doing a separate podcast, but I realized that made no sense. I'm like, why would I start another one? So I'm like, you know what? We will just amalgamate it, bring it together. You'll have one episode of this each week, and then multiple episodes of the interviews each week as well. Sugar. That's nice.
I think this is my first time seeing
what's up, Elevation?
Sugar
How you doing?
on the comments. Enola Mosley said she loved your sermons last week. Number 1, find your seat. Number 2, motivational encouragement about life.
Oh man, it wasn't a sermon, right? It was. I guess it wasn't a sermon. It was more so.
Right,
it was more so.
Yeah.
You know, it's just that in the moment thing that I think is very, very important. Because if we're talking about efficacy, right, in terms of people overall, but we focus more so, as you guys know, on the Black experience across the globe. And the reason for that is, well, we need the support, right? Black people need the support. And if usually we don't get that from without the community, so we have to actually find that support within the community.
Yeah.
Right? We have to be the ones that remedy our own issues. We have to support one another. That's something that's integral to our progression as we know it. One of the main reasons for that is we share the same history. We share the same history, and sometimes other people won't be able to identify or understand the things that we're going through or the things that we talk about. So we have the greater understanding one to another as it relates to, you know, like the struggles. If I communicate something to you,
Yeah.
you immediately understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I don't have to break it down and have this defensive mechanism up to say, you know what, I got to prepare to defend myself because these people are going to try to attack my position. Right? So yeah, so it's important that we encourage one another. And I think finding your seat, which is something that I spoke about last week, is very, very important. Because there are things that we're not good at, and then there are things that we're good at. There are things that we're trying to emulate because we see someone else that's doing it. Someone might be gifted at basketball, for instance, just an example, or at singing, or something else, and you see that and you're like, man, I should do this. But it's not your thing though.
Yeah.
You understand? Like, we can admire and watch someone else in their element and admire that, seeing someone dancing and it's beautiful, and we're saying, yeah, that's good. And we're trying it, but we know it's not for us, and we know that. But we have something else that we put it aside that we should be contributing to the world.
Yeah.
And we're robbing the world of that thing just because we're not contributing that thing to the world. And so I think it's really, really important that we find our lane, find our seat, because you flow. And that's the most important thing. Like, you flow when you're in it. If you can find that thing. And I think last week I was talking about just the challenges of. It's funny because I feel like at one point, when it came on to finding your purpose, right, and finding things like that thing that you were created for,
Yeah.
right, like your contribution to the world, the thing that should be your legacy.
Yeah.
I was struggling with that for a period of time, but I've been through. I don't know. I guess now I have a better grasp on that because it was almost like a conundrum. I feel like most people grapple with this thing, trying to find their purpose. You're wondering, like, what is it that I should actually contribute? Like, why am I here? What should I do? And I don't know, I guess I've like honed in on that a little bit better. I have a greater understanding of that, if not for other people, for myself. And I think it's really, really important for us to get that thing and move forward with that thing. I don't know. At first, it was like, I don't know, but I think people are distracted, and I think that's why the that little thing I did last week about find your seat is so important, because that's where it starts, and I think we all know what that thing is. We all know what that thing is. Trust me, we know what that thing is, and it's not saying that you're gonna be at the top of your game once you have it, right? You still gotta practice and like really refine that skill. If you have this natural gift of singing, for instance, you might be good, but you can get better, right? You can learn different things. You can maybe go to a voice coach or someone that can get like really get you a lot better. Like Usain Bolt, for instance.
Yeah.
Like Bolt was like gifted with running. Like he had that.
Yeah.
But he had to refine his form
Yes.
and work at it, and now the man is the fastest man in the world.
Yes.
Because he had the seed. And I think that's really, really important. It's very, very important. And I think I'm approaching this whole solutions that can help the black community going forward. I'm approaching this from a different angle. You get what I'm trying to say? I'm not. It's very, very important, because sometimes we can go surface level. You understand? And surface level really is not the way forward. There's not much solution to be had from the surface level. But if you go deep and start working at the root of the issue, you understand what I'm trying to say? You can move forward. You start there, and then you realize that snap, it's working the way it should, right? Because we're taking it from a different angle. So I think our people overall needs constant doses of motivation, and I spoke about this in episode maybe 1 or 2, where I talk about Fortune 500 companies and all these different businesses, and these people who are affluent and doing things in the world that they're either reading stuff all the time, they're learning from other people, they have mentors, they have these seminars and conferences that they regularly attend because they're trying to learn all these things, right? They're motivated, but they're seeking additional inspiration and motivation to propel them forward, to move forward. They're thinking about that constantly because they understand that if you're not moving forward, you're actually regressing. So they understand this thing. As a whole, in the business world, we're talking about that. So humans overall, we need that, right? We have ups, we got down, like down times, up, right? Ups and downs, right? And sometimes we need motivation when we're low, when we're feeling low, and it's a thing that we need. So our community, as black people, we are, as I keep saying again and again, we're bombarded with a lot of negative images through media. It doesn't matter what form of media you consume, it's there, whether it's music, whether it's TV shows, movies, skits, whatever you want to call it. It's always predominantly negative images. And we're bombarded with that. And sometimes it gets us down. Because sometimes when I think about solutions, like I think I had an interview a few days ago and I was thinking about, we're talking about, solutions, and sometimes I feel so overwhelmed because I'm like, man, the forces, when I say forces, I'm talking about like media and the different energy that's coming when it comes onto the images that they're showing of us out there. It's so much that I'm like, man, how can we really, go against this thing? You understand? And sometimes I feel overwhelmed, but it's like, I understand the importance that, if you drink something that's bad, it's not going to kill you right away, right? Your health won't deteriorate right away, right? It's not going to take one day for you to see the effects of that negative thing or that bad thing that you're consuming, whether it's food or beverage, whatever form it might take. As long as it's unhealthy, it's literally working against your health. And you won't see it on day 1, maybe not even day 20 or 60, but you might see it at day 120. Who knows, right? So the constant bombardment that we have to go through on a consistent basis as black people, it affects our minds. Whether if it's not consciously, subconsciously for sure. And if you're a young person as well, your mind is impressionable and it's even worse for you. So we need something that counters that. And I think that's where this form of maybe sort of like personal development or this motivation comes in to really counteract and fight against the lies that we've been fed consistently. And sometimes it's like someone that's poor, you ain't got no money, right? So you want to go to maybe Whole Foods or somewhere to buy something healthier. You want a healthier diet, but you can't afford it. You know it's good for you, but you can't afford it. So whatever you have, you got to eat it. You understand? I'm from Jamaica. I understand that type of life. You understand what I'm trying to say? So it's like sometimes you want something, but you can't afford it, but you know you need it, but you got to survive still, so you got to eat what you get. So it's like that. That's what I feel like our community is going through. Where sometimes we're looking for something good to consume. We're like, we know that there's something out there, but it's not there. So we gotta just, some of us just take what we get until there's something better.
I was just gonna say that I don't think many of us realize, at least for me, like this is something that I'm battling with now with myself, is like mentally how much negativity is ingrained in my mind. And I don't think, unless you really take the time to really like reflect on yourself and question yourself, you may not realize like how poisonous your thoughts or your mind has, like how bad it is. And it's like, because I sometimes I question myself, okay, like I know what I want, I know what my goals are, I know where I want to be, but why am I not progressing in the way that I want to, and then I think about like how many times a day, like I probably, like something comes into my mind and then I immediately shut it down, in my subconscious by saying, oh, well, whatever, like so many, and I just feel like that's something that the media and just even just generationally and just outside forces or whatever, things that I've heard, things that I've seen, how much that actually affects my ability to move forward, because I have these things in my mind that weigh me down, but I'm not even fully aware that as soon as something comes up to try and make me want to elevate, make me want to try and go harder, go stronger, excel in something, I have this thing that's pushing me down. And yeah, so I think for everybody, wherever you are and whatever you're doing, I think that inner reflection is really important, because, and if you don't like attack those negative thoughts and deal with those negative thoughts, then it's just going to continue and persist. And as a community, we can't really go very far if we don't address what's going on here.
Yeah, I concur with that 100%. And one of the reasons why I concur with that is because it's a human issue, right? It's one of those things where it's funny. I was listening to Akala at one point, and he was talking about he had an interview, and I think it was Pierce Morgan and someone else that was on it. Some of you guys may be familiar with this interview, and we all know Akala is very, very eloquent, a very intelligent man, and he was saying that when there's an issue that's facing the black community, or a community that's not black, and the black community faces the exact same thing, right? Whether, for instance, if something occurs within, maybe let's say for example, the white community, and then the exact same thing occurs within the black community, like they look at it as a different form. They don't treat it the same way, right? It's a human issue. You understand what I'm saying? It's a human issue. So whether, like, I think it was a knife attacks they were talking about in the UK at one point, and it was talking about things that occurred in the white community and the solution that they put forward for that issue. And when it was a black community, then they ascribed the violence to the color of the people.
Yes.
And not other elements and elements that they identified within the white community. So so let me just try to like bring that in a form that's coherent. What I'm saying is that there's human issues, things that affect every people. If you're a human on this earth, there are things that will affect you. You understand? Your mindset, your self-image, all these things affect all people. You get what I'm saying? And being a black person or a white person or a pink person or whatever color you are makes no difference. You still face these things because you're human. You understand? So I'm saying, being a black person and being all this negativity overall, if you consume it long enough, any people, it affects you. Any human, it affects you. And black people disproportionately have way more negative stereotypes and images that we're bombarded with on a daily basis. So can you imagine that any human that is in a place or an environment where they're consuming all that negativity, it will affect them.
Yeah.
And imagine if a community is targeted with all these negative images. Can you imagine the toll that will take on that community overall. Some people are stronger than others.
Yeah.
We get that. So if someone has maybe their upbringing, maybe it's their family, maybe they have something innate that helps them to steer clear of that negativity, or have some like a counterattack. They have a defensive mechanism, something that prevents them from being swayed or overly influenced by these the negativity. Then they might have a different path, right? They have something to counteract that. But then you have the weak ones, and it's just the way life is. You got some people who are stronger, maybe it's their upbringing usually, or different things that their experiences, whatever. And some people are stronger and some people are weaker. So some people will fall for the devices and some people won't. It's the way life is. But I really believe 100% there's a thing called self-image. And self-image is the way that you see yourself, the way you are as an individual. Like that thing that's within you that you, like you're saying, okay, this is who I am.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't matter what someone says you are or whatever it is, it's what you say about yourself that matters. So if you see yourself as whatever, just find a negative adjective and say, okay, you see yourself as that, it doesn't matter what you do, that's what will be your life.
Mm-hmm.
But if on the flip side you see yourself, input a positive adjective right there as whatever that is, then that's the way that your life will go, like in most cases. So it really depends on how you see yourself. It really depends on your frame of mind and the things that you take in within you to counteract the forces that are against you. Some people say that black people have to work twice as hard, sometimes 3-4 times than their whatever counterparts to get the same results that they get, not because they're incompetent or they just have to work harder just for the sake of it. It's just because there are things that are there that fight against your effort. And if things were fair and equal across the board, then we wouldn't have the problems that we face today. You understand what I'm trying to say? So I'm saying, I think one solution to the image or the issues that we're facing across the world, I spoke about media 100%, and it's important that that there are more options to choose from, positive options when it comes onto movies and TV shows and all these things. That's one. And also we need to as well the consumption pattern as well. We got to consume things that are positive, that can help our minds. And I keep talking about this, and it's so important. It's so important. If you think about the body, just like when you don't exercise, you feel a certain way. Just like when you eat certain things that are not good for you, you feel a certain way. When someone is talking down to you, negativity, like all the time, it affects you. Those things are reality. And if we turn a blind eye to these things, then we can't find a workable solution. It won't work because we're attacking the wrong thing. We're targeting the wrong issues. So if you want to get healthy, you got to focus on nutrition and exercise. So you go out there, you exercise, whether you run or you go to the gym or you do calisthenics, whatever form it takes, you do that, and then you focus on your nutrition as well. Make sure that you're eating the right things. And then when it comes onto your mind, you make sure that you're listening to the right things. You're reading some books to learn something new. You're understanding psychology. You're working on all these things to make yourself a better individual. Very, very important. This is something that's very, very important that we all need to focus on. And I think it's something that within the black community, we need, like maybe even conferences or seminars that are targeting the mindset primarily. Yes, people talk about group economics. We need more money and all those things. We talk about all these issues, but 100% we need to attack the mindset first, and then from that we can move forward. It's almost like giving a guy a fish versus teaching him how to fish. Mm-hmm. If you can teach someone how to think right or rightly, if you can teach someone to do that or positively, then you can leave that person up to their own devices and they will find a way for themselves, because you taught them a very essential skill when it comes on to self-image, your mindset, and positivity. These things are integral, I believe personally, to move forward.
So how do you practically, I'm just asking,
yes,
I have some ideas, but how do you, so that we want to talk about solutions, so how do you practically deal with the mindset of the community?
Okay.
What are practical ways that if you want to talk about, okay, what can we actually do? What are some of the things? I've got some ideas.
Well, if we're talking about individually, in my mind, like just the way I see it, if we're talking about individuals on an individual level, right? Because that's where it starts, right? For instance, if there's no group effort or no gathering or something where we can maybe have like a seminar or a conference or something that really targets these things, we have to do it on an individual basis. So this is what I would say, and this is what I do with myself as well. And something I think I call it. First of all, it depends on the appetite of the individual. So some people, their appetite is different. So certain things that one person gravitate towards, they won't gravitate towards it. You understand? So for instance, some people might just like a negative type of music for whatever reason, or they may like a certain type of movie, right? And I'm not saying necessarily it's that they really like that. I think because they've been force-fed that or fed that so long, just like a child that might grow up in India, they like a certain type of food or spice because they grew up on that, right? And because we grew up in another side of the world, we like a certain type of spice because that was just what was given to us. And over time, that became what we like, right? So it's almost like our taste buds were like, you know, it was just like influenced by that, right? So we have a palate, or palates were like influenced by that type of food, and now we grow to like it. So the appetite might be different. So I think someone's appetite can change. I think that personally, so that's one issue, because you might give someone something and they don't want it because they just don't like it. They might think it's lame, or oh, it's like nerdy,
like
or it's
what?
this or that. Not just different. Like for instance, maybe a type of movie or a type of book or something or book. You might give someone something to read and they're like, they don't want to read it because like it's kind of lame, right? But we understand the importance of like books and just education overall, not necessarily like a master's or a PhD or whatever. But of course, I'm not knocking that. I'm just saying, when I say education, of course that's included, but I'm talking more so like books that you can go and buy yourself, right? You can go to a seminar yourself. You can like listen to a guy or get a mentor or whatever yourself and do that as well. So that's what I'm talking. So that is included as well. So what I'm saying is this: force feed yourself. I think on an individual basis, if a person has an issue and they're like, you know what, I want to make a change, I want to make a difference, my mindset, like you're talking about, is predominantly pessimistic. What can I do to remedy my mindset? I say, and this is what I call it this, I say I force feed myself positivity. Force feeding yourself positivity, right? What do I mean by this? You don't want to do it, but you force yourself to consume what you know will benefit you in a positive way. It's like when I go out for my runs, sometimes I'm not in the mood because I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to run for like 1 hour, or I'm going to do this, or whatever the case is, and I'm just thinking about the work that's involved. But what gets me going and keeps me going is that I understand the importance or the contribution to my body or my health that I'm going to receive after I go out and I do this. So by force feeding myself positivity, or a person that needs to do this, is if you're driving in your car, you get something on a subject matter that you want to learn about, or something that has to do with your mindset, or some type of positive thing, and you play that in your car while you're driving, or you listen to it on a Bluetooth headset or a headset or whatever it is that you consume music through, and you play it in the background, because you can't necessarily close your ears, right? You can try, but you can still hear it. So your ears are open constantly. So once it's playing, it will change. So even if you're in a bad mood, and I've tried this before, you're in a bad mood and you're playing that thing, you don't want to hear it. You're just mad. You don't want to hear it, but you turn it on. And within a few seconds or minutes, you find that the atmosphere around you starts changing, because now you're influencing, or you're infusing this positivity, you're releasing or diffusing, let's say diffusing. You're diffusing this positivity now into the atmosphere, and it's getting inside you, and then you find your mood starts to change. Because the person that's talking, they're not influenced by your circumstance. You understand? They're independent of you, so they're penetrating. So even whatever you're going through, it doesn't matter, because this was pre-recorded. So it's coming in full force, and even if you're in the worst mood and you're consumed with negativity, this thing will penetrate, and you might be annoyed, you might want to throw your phone through the window or something, but just leave it. And do what you're doing, and that will get into your mind. Reading might be a little bit more difficult, because you got to sit down and actively get a book, and you got to like flip the pages or whatever. But there's another option for that.
Yeah, we know the solution for
that. You got audiobooks. So you got audiobooks as well. You can play that as well. So it's better. Listening really helps a lot. Sitting down might not even be as effective, because if you're going to watch something on your computer or your TV or whatever the case is, you got to put yourself down and sit. And that might be a challenge. But if you can get something that's audible, that you can listen to, that can help you to start changing your mindset. And if you do that enough times, when you're walking to school, driving to school, running, cycling, you name it, and you have that thing constantly, it will help change your mind. And then you find yourself thinking like these people, and then you start breaking down that negative barrier that was that's around you to open up yourself to so much more. So I think that's one way.
Yeah, so that's on an individual basis, and I guess some practical things that people can do. What about people who are not even tapped into? Okay, so that was about an individual basis and force feeding yourself and being like motivated, or at least trying to do that. So what about people who want to reach? Okay, what about reaching the people who are not even like tapped into that kind of self motivation kind of thing? What I was thinking about as well is just practical ways that we can make, as a community, we can put influence out there on a maybe less, in a way for it to reach people, and but like, and so in a way for it to reach people so that they can consume it and be changed by it. So for example, everything that you said, but like, for example, having like a YouTube channel or something like this, a platform like this, for example, where where we're able to maybe reach people who aren't necessarily tapped into that kind of thing already, that motivational, like, self-improvement. Not everybody's on that tip, you know what I mean?
But that's what I said about appetite, right? But even if
so that's what I'm saying, in the sense of like, okay, so like, for example,
but even a channel though, the thing with that is you got to get people to go to it, and the way algorithm works, if you're not consuming that, you won't see it in your feed.
I get that.
So those people who are not about that life, that the people that you're identifying, these people won't come in contact with that. The only way that will work, well, then again, I can't say the only way, because there are ways that I'm not privy to, or I don't know. But I feel like you got to bring it to them.
Right.
So it has to be someone that's tapped into that type of thing, has to bring it to that individual, and they have to be a person that go to that individual, right, with that mindset.
Yeah.
You get what I'm trying to say? Like, so that's you gotta go to them.
Yeah. So, well, and that's the other thing, is that also, like, there are those of us who are around people who we know could benefit from this kind of thing, that we can reach out to them, share with them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because there, like you said, there's people who are not even, who aren't looking for this type of thing. Maybe everything that they consume is, unbeknownst to them, very negative.
And those are the ones that need it the most.
Those are the ones that need it the most. Right. So everything that they consume is inherently negative, and they don't even realize the impact that it has on them. But we know these people. Maybe we don't know them, but we're around them. So this is where, I guess, things like community programs, or especially if you, and I think the most powerful people to reach are the young people, college students, high school students, junior high school students. Those, like, I particularly think about the kids, because they are the next up and coming. Of course, there's people who are, our age, older than us, and even the older generation, like our parents and our grandparents, who've been through, different type of lifestyle, who come from a different way of thinking. Even people from that generation, they are still, able to benefit from this kind of thing, because a lot of them, they didn't really have that. You understand what I'm saying? Some of them, were maybe self-motivated and have a different mindset, but I think even a lot of our parents, they have this thing over them that could, like, if we're able to expose that to them and have them tear those things down, because a lot of our parents, and I mean, like, our parents' generation, are not operating in their full potential, and it was all about survival. It was mostly about, like, taking care of the family, working hard, working 3 jobs, 4 jobs, and just making sure that your family was fed and clothed and sheltered.
It's funny because you said that, and I was talking to my parents a few weeks ago, and I think my father's birthday was a little while ago, and I was talking to him on his birthday, and I'm like, you're getting older, but you're still here. I'm like, it literally doesn't matter. Like, if there's something that you want to do you can do it. Because sometimes I feel like if someone is like, in their 50s, 60s, whatever, they almost close the door as well, right? As it relates to what they can do, because they're like, I'm old now. I'm like, that's the time you are rich with experience. You are full to the overflowing with experience. There's so much that you know, but I think that time as well has made some people cynical, right? Because maybe, they've been here for a while, and so much negativity that they're faced, they feel like, it's time now. But as long as you're still here, you're walking around. Listen, some people do so much, like, you could literally be amassing so much experience and wisdom over, half a century, or, like 60 years or whatever. And then you can spend the next 5 years, like, depositing that in something else, or investing that in something that you're going to try to do. There's so much that's there as well for those people. But so community programs, you said, and stuff like that, that's important.
And then reaching those around you, yeah,
it's very, very possible. Like what Jay's saying is, like, those who are on, well, let me just, I saw just this thing here, Frequency Rebels, thanks a lot for the 1,000, and I appreciate it. There are people that are on that tip who can influence those who are in the immediate environment, right? So, for instance, if I got a friend, I'm like, you know what, he's not really on that thing. You can try to influence him, but some people at the same time may feel turned off because you're trying to do something that they're not into. They ain't got an appetite for that. That's your thing. That's your thing. I'm good. That's your thing. You got people like that, right? And I've encountered that, even some of my family members. But you know what happens though? Sometimes when you talk to them about it, you find that after a while they start coming around, or they remember you for it, right? And they identify you as that person. So if they're facing something, they might be like, you know what? Junior always does this. They're going through something. Yeah, let me call it Junior, because he's different. They might call it Junior, right? Or let me just call it like Stacy. Like she's different. And then they go to you, and the next thing too is sometimes you don't have to say anything. You can lead by example, which is one of the most effective forms of influencing people. You lead by example. So instead of trying to be like, you know what, I'm gonna like this is what you need to do, because it doesn't work all the time, and usually that's the most ineffective method, right? You're trying to force someone to do something that they don't want to do, right? They say that children will be what they see. So if you're trying to influence a child, you've got to put an example out there, and they will imitate you. That's one way for a child. Then for other people, you can talk to them, right, on their level, and explain certain things, and then you can also lead by example as well. And you got to trust that in their time they will come to the fullness of what you know. Because sometimes you're saying something, and I understand this, and I'm pretty sure someone out there, at least one person, should be able to identify with this, that you're trying to say something to someone, and for some reason you can't reach them where they are. Because the thing is, you got to reach them where they are, and they might not change. You might just plant the seed. Right? You might just deposit something in their minds, and then they move on to someone else, and maybe after 5 years they might come to the fullness of what you're saying and move in that direction. But as you said, individually, there are two types of people, I think. One who want to make a change, but for some reason they're like, man, I don't know. Those people can employ the force feeding mechanism that I use. And then there are people who, that they need, you can see it from a distance, that they need a change, right? And you know that they can do better. You see them as they could be, not as they are. And then you may need to enter that person's space and influence them, right? Like, you got to see it, because they won't see it. Like, they're fine. They're just doing their thing. They're like, listen, I got to do this because I got to survive, whatever the case is. But I believe wholeheartedly, 100%, because the mind is where I keep saying this. What separates, you can look at two guys or two girls that look the exact same way. The girls are beautiful, the guys, right, they're athletic, they're doing their thing, they look the exact same way, but they have different minds. They operate completely differently. Their personalities are very different. What's the thing that's different about them? Their mindset. That's it. That's it. The mindset. So what do you target? What does the media target? Do you think they don't? Yeah, when you spoke about advertisement like a few weeks ago, like, they understand what they're doing when they put these images out there. These days, and even before even present day, I believe that reality imitates art. Everything, and I can give an example. Let me give an example. I know you want to say something, but I'm going to say it so that you can speak. In Jamaica, I know it sounds kind of weird, just forgive me. In Jamaica, when people, the latest like gangster movie or whatever you want to call it that comes out, right, and they see someone being killed in a certain way, the way that they kill the person in the movie, the person never had it in their minds, like those criminals or whoever they are. And when they see it on a movie, let's say the movie is called Cutlass, for instance, and the guy does something with a machete or whatever, and then you hear on the news, oh, 2 people died, and this is how they died. And what happened? What they saw in the movie, someone saw it and was inspired to do the wrong thing, and then they carried out that same act on another person, and it's because of the movie. So now reality is imitating art. It's the mind. There's just so much. But I think that's where it starts, 100%. Because if you can change a mind, can you imagine?
Yeah.
If we can change the mindset of the diaspora, if we can change that, trust me, man, that's where it's at. That's where it starts.
Sorry. Sun Kiss Flower, I wanted to comment on what you said. You said you can't save everyone. Indeed, you cannot.
Who said that?
Sun Kiss Flower. But what I want to say
I
is...
have a response for that.
Hold on. I'm going first. Okay. So, but I think that's the wrong mindset to
100%,
have.
1000%.
Because, you know, and of course, yeah, you can bring a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Of course, we know this. But at the same time, when we're thinking about our community or whatever, leave no man behind. You know what I mean? Try. And I really feel this in my heart that even what I brought up about like our parents' generation, like our, you know, those that are older than us, especially like our parents and those who are, you know, up in age, and maybe feel like, okay, well, they've done their purpose, they've raised their family, there's nothing left for them. I honestly feel like even if you're a person who you know, you see and you know, for example, your parents, for example, have so much more potential inside of them, even though they're up in age, I just want to encourage you to encourage them to even step out and try. If you know your, like I talked about this before, if you know your aunt, for example, could and should open a restaurant, for example, because she has the baddest chicken, you know what I mean? Or you know somebody has like raw talent, or your parent wanted to go to university but never did. I honestly think that is something worth investing in, and just a simple word of encouragement from you could like make such a difference. If you know, if especially if you're talking about you're their child. I'm just speaking from that perspective, but or their, you know, their niece or their nephew, and encouraging them and say, you know, you should try. You should still try. It's not too late. You're still alive. But yeah, in regards to that, honestly, I really think that we shouldn't look at it like you can't save everyone. You should try.
That's as I said just now, I spoke about mindset.
Yeah.
And the way my mind works is different. And I told my wife this earlier, I think it was last night maybe, that the reason why I think certain people maybe think a certain way or do things differently is because maybe, as I said, find your seat. The thing that you're doing, the way that you are, the makeup, right? It's almost like you have a computer. I was telling my wife this, or you got a camcorder, for instance, or like, you know, like a DSLR camera or a cell phone. The way that cell phone was manufactured was the manufacturer had a function in mind. So when he designed this thing, he knew that, okay, you know what, I'm going to put all these components within this smartphone because it should be able to carry out this task and that task. So if someone is a certain way, it's because I believe personally was that they were designed or created to carry out this task or that task, right? So for instance, the way my mind works when it comes on to things like this, my mindset is this: don't stand in your own way. 1, when you're doing something, think without limits. 2, so if you're going to do something, don't think about the finances, the resources, the pushback, the naysayers, the this, the that, the that. You're putting all these things in your way before you progress further. So if I'm going to try to tackle this issue, I'm not going to say to myself, I can't reach anyone. I understand that maybe factually that might be true, but I refuse to enter in with that in my mind, because that alone already will dampen my efforts, because I'm saying, well, in my mind, I know I can't reach everyone. And look, I might be the only person, or we might be the only people that believe that we can reach everyone. Some people might say we're crazy. I don't care. The people that do things are the crazy thinkers. Like, you go back to history. And I always use history as my teacher. And the crazy people who seem like they're dumb, ain't got no sense, they eventually are the ones that are like, oh snap, that guy was right. Planes can actually fly people from one part of the world to the next part, to another part. So I'm saying when you're approaching the issue, you're not going to be thinking about the fact that these things or an impediment, or this is a possibility, or if it's not a possibility, you don't know because it's never been done. But so even if there's only one benefit to it, which is just that you open up yourself to the possibility that you may just be able to reach someone, I think that's important. Because I think if you go or approach the issue with a mindset that you can't reach everyone, it's already dampening your efforts. Just like when someone is running, it's like without self-confidence, you're twice defeated in the race of life. I believe Marcus Garvey was the one that said that. Like, so if you're starting the race, and you guys should know this, you're going up to give a speech, you're going up in front of your class to present your assignment or whatever the case is. If you're nervous, if you doubt yourself before you even stand up, chances are you're going to do horribly or worse than you would have done had you went up there with some confidence, being calm, collected, relaxed, and say, okay, you know what, I'm going to do my best. It's a different outcome because of the way you approach the issue. That's very, very important. So, look, this is my mindset. And as I said, when a manufacturer makes something, there are components in it because of the purpose or the function that this thing should carry out. The cell phone is a certain way. It got a camera on the back of it because it's made for pictures as well and videos, right? So the manufacturer put the camera at the back. Apple, they did that because it should take pictures. I've embraced who I am. Some people won't like me. Some people like me. It doesn't even matter if you like me or not. That doesn't matter. I like myself. And I understand what I'm drawn to and what I'm supposed to do. So this is my mindset. And usually I would dampen just the way that I talk and stuff because I'm like, okay, people might feel a little bit, I don't know, whatever, because I'm being myself. But the fact of the matter is, just like what Aisha said, that she's a female pro wrestler, is that, you know what, you're different. I can't remember it verbatim, but I need to listen to the interview to get the way that she said it. But pretty much what she's saying, and I ascribe to this as well, is that you're different. Who you are that's watching right now. You have to be that person.
Yeah.
You have to be that person so that you can contribute effectively, like 100% what it is that you are to contribute to humanity, to the world. So the issue of, you're not going to force anyone if we're going to talk about influencing people around you. Look, I've done this. I've been in Jamaica. We've had like free conference series where we got people in and we spoke to them. And some people, they're cool. And some people might be like, I don't know. Like I remember when I had one of those series. That's when one of my friends has this company in Canada, and he has like satellite offices across the world. And I started the one in Jamaica. And there was this one instance where I went there, was talking about something, and this guy saw me on the street somewhere, and he's like, oh, he called me over and he's like, oh, I'm doing this now, like I got a job. I'm like, that's one person. I'm like, this guy actually listened. This guy actually moved in a direction and literally got a job, and I was super happy for him.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, you know what? I'm like, had I maybe just been like, you know what? I don't know, man. They won't listen to me. Whatever the case is, if you go with that mindset, nothing is gonna happen.
Yeah.
But if you get one person, you're trying to go for 5, but you get 1, that's good still.
Yeah.
You're going for 100, you get 10, that's good still. Because it's 10 that wouldn't have been there had you just decided that it's not going to work. So that's my mindset. And I implore you as well, or encourage you as well, to take that mindset. Don't stand in your own way. Of course, you will get thoughts in your mind. Things will come. And you're like, oh, I don't know. But still, don't be the first person to say no to yourself. And when you're thinking, try to think without limits. Right? Because as I said last week, there are variables that you're not privy to, that you can't control.
Yeah.
In every single circumstance in your life, even if you're saying historically this happened 500 times, this, which means it's probably going to happen again, there are still variables that you're not privy to that can work in your favor. You don't know. But as I said, the mindset is extremely, extremely, extremely important, because if you can control your mind or program your own mind, you're good. Because if you don't program your mind, someone else will. Les Brown said that, and I think that was really profound, right? Because you got to program yourself. Program yourself, or prepare to be programmed by someone else.
Okay, cool. 2 things. Can I give a shout out?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so just to take a brief interlude, I noticed some people in the chat, and so I wanted to say hello, Purple Paisley Planner, hi, and to Rochelle McKinney. Rochelle McKinney comments on every single video we post.
Really?
So hi to you. This is my first time seeing you on the live stream. Yes, she's always commenting. Hi Rochelle, if you're still here, girl. Yes. Okay. Earl White is asking if we're still taking calls.
Yeah, so we're gonna open the phone lines.
Okay.
We've been, how long have we been on?
I don't know.
Okay, so about an hour. So we're gonna open the phone lines. So I'm gonna let you continue for a second. We're gonna open the phone lines so we can probably only take. Oh, there's actually the numbers are there. Actually, I just saw that it's actually on the screen. So
Yeah, the numbers on the screen.
so we'll take one caller, and then you can maybe chime in, and then we'll conclude after that because we're not trying to go too long today because we got some stuff to do after this. But yeah, you can continue for a second.
Well, that was the two things I wanted to shout out and then mention that people want to call in.
Okay, so the phone lines are now open. So if you guys, or they're open. So if you guys want to like call in and maybe chime in, give a suggestion, a recommendation, advice, whatever it is, like now is the time to do that. But you guys know we're about, again, just a quick announcement again. This discussion is once per week. Sometimes we're gonna have people that we pre-arrange with that will call in, and we're gonna interview them and about different things facing the community, maybe professionals in their field as well, like we did a few weeks ago, Black people in tech. And also we're gonna incorporate the Melanated Files interviews, the audio version on the podcast as well. So a few times per week, the interviews that we upload on YouTube, the video version, you'll get the audio on the podcast as well, in addition to the discussions that we're having once per week. So for instance, maybe there might be a few episodes in addition to this each week, so you guys can look out for that as well, because some of you guys are saying the interviews are too long, the video version, and you can't sit down and watch it. And just like I said, when you're force feeding yourself positivity, for instance, sometimes you gotta just put something on and listen to it while you're doing something else. So that should help some of you guys. That's one of the two solutions that we're gonna implement to help you guys who don't have the time to sit down and watch these long interviews. So the number again is 1-814-822-0317. That's 1-814-822-0317. That's the number that you guys can call in if you have something to say. And so maybe we'll wait around 5 minutes, and then if we don't receive a call, then we'll conclude.
So just the number on the screen is what we have. We don't have your WhatsApp number, right?
No, we don't. But I'm gonna
something to look into.
It's another setup and there's another addition to it, but we could get a WhatsApp number as well. I think we could do that. I think that might be more accessible to people, and also we have different numbers. So maybe, but most people call from the States, right? So the number we have a Japanese number, we got an American number. We could have a Canadian number as well. So we can have other numbers, but we'll going forward we'll find something that is more inclusive. But I guess no one wants to call.
Well, it seems like Earl's like set up a toll-free number. Yes. We'll work on that.
Let's see.
Anyways, but again, just to kind of close off or round out everything that we talked about, I think it's all about consumption, right? What we consume on a daily basis, what we listen to, what we watch, who we speak to, who we surround ourselves with. All those things play a huge factor on our mindset.
Yeah.
Our friends,
And it's
who your friends are will show me who you are. That thing, that saying, it's very true. And your level in life is about an average of those who you
100%. Like I know for a fact,
right?
I know for a fact this works. But I guess as you said earlier, and I think this is where the change will happen, is that people who are in a position to influence other people, that they do so. Because those who can't see, they don't know where they're going. It's like if they don't have the appetite for it, then they won't desire it, so they won't seek it out, and they probably won't find them.
Yeah.
Especially in this algorithmic ran world, right? So if you're not into something, chances are you probably won't see it for the most part. Really, like whether you're on Facebook or YouTube or Google or whatever, it feeds you whatever you look up. So if you're into just like fried chicken, you'll see fried chicken everywhere you go. You're into like Jeep, you'll see Jeep everywhere you go, and you're into Jordans, you'll see Jordans everywhere you go. But so for those people who have information or who have a certain mindset, those people need to find those people. Maybe just grab someone that's close to you and try to see how you can influence them, right? Whether it's inviting them somewhere, or saying something to them, or highlighting things that you think they're really good at. That's the way it is. I know it's one of those things, and I like doing things in a, I like to cast a wide net to say, okay, how many fishes can I catch? But sometimes, you got to do the one fish. You got to do the one person, and you're talking to the one person and trying your best with that one person, and hopefully, you spark something and inspire that person, and then they can move to another level. And if you can do that on a mass scale, then you do so as well, and then who knows, more people, right? We're doing this live stream, and then hopefully, some people listen to it, and someone might decide to move in a certain direction. But as I said, the mindset is very, very important. So because as humans, overall, whether you're black or whatever color you are influenced by the things that you consume. You are what you eat, you are what you listen to and watch. And people sometimes will debate that. They will argue and say, well, I can consume whatever, but trust me, even subconsciously, it's working on your mind. So that's what I'm saying. So, and you said community, which is very important, and that's something I have in my mind as well, that if you're in a community, wherever you are, I understand that some people, look, this is for the people who don't mind doing this, because not everyone will. Some people don't want to shoulder this burden. I understand, and it's better when a person is willing to do it. Some people are maybe like in the middle, and they might say, okay, I don't know, and you might be able to give them some information that can influence them to move in that direction as well. So that's one, right? You got those people. So hopefully we can influence those people, inspire them to do something. But those people who are willing to do it within your community, there's a guy across the street, there's a girl across the road, you try to like see how you can influence that person. Maybe you can start something within your community that may be an escape for these people who are more at risk, and then your influence might be the thing might be the thing that changes the trajectory of that person's life. And I understand, for instance, the influence of teachers. Some teachers are so amazing, and I wish they had a vetting process when it comes down to who can be a teacher, because some teachers are horrible. Some teachers should have no right to be in a classroom. And I'm like, because I understand, when you have a good teacher, when you have an excellent teacher, trust me, that teacher can change the very trajectory of your life. A good teacher has that power. They have that potential. And some of like the greatest people that have walked the face of this earth in terms of walking in their their potential and their purpose, it was a teacher. It was a teacher. It was a teacher that literally made them change. And call to mind again, Les Brown. I gotta say Les Brown, because Les Brown at one point, they said he was, dumb, right? He was labeled, like pretty much mentally unstable. Like, I can't remember the exact thing. Eligible something, like he was pretty much saying he was retarded or slow or whatever the case is. Something negative, really negative. They actually said to the man, "This is you," or the boy at that time, "This is what you are."
Yeah.
And then a teacher said to him, someone's opinion of you does not have to become your reality. Someone's opinion of you does not have to become your reality. And those words started the man down the road that we know him. Some of you guys may know Les Brown right now, because of that teacher. So I think, trust me, man, we all, those of us who know stuff or are on a different wavelength with certain things, we need to help those who aren't, and hopefully they'll reach.
Yeah, I was gonna say something, but
when the person come on,
let the caller come on first, and then I'll finish saying what I'm saying.
Hey caller, thanks for calling. What's your name?
Oh, I want to say something.
This is Jeff.
Hey Jeff. Okay, 1 second. Let my wife finish what she's saying, and then we'll give you the floor. Guys, can you hear the caller? Wait, let me know if you can hear the caller, guys. There's another person.
Everybody wants to call now.
Huh? Wait.
Huh?
Did...
Everybody wants to call now.
Wait, did he hang up?
Did he hang up?
I guess he did.
It's a different number.
No, okay, no, but I declined this call, but the person hung up. But say what you're saying.
It's just okay. So so they said they heard the caller. What I was gonna say was people tend to forget that. I mean, as a teacher, I know this. People tend to forget that teachers are like a second parent.
Hello.
Greetings, heaven high. This is Baba Oye.
Hey, what's up?
Wife Nubian.
Okay,
how you doing?
Nubian. I'm good. How you doing? Just 1 second. My wife wants to finish her thought. Let her finish, and then I'll put you on. Okay?
No problem. Take your time.
Okay. Yeah, Jay.
Yeah, so as I was saying, teachers are like a second parent, and they play. When you put a child, can you turn your volume down in the back?
No, I think. Oh yeah. Wise Nubian, can you mute your volume, your audio, please, on your computer?
You muted the mic so we can't hear.
Oh yeah, Wise Nubian, can you please put your thing on mute, please, your video?
Oh yeah. No, yeah, I did it. I didn't know that you all had me timed in at the time that you was talking. So I was trying to listen to what you was saying because I can't hear you when
okay, no
when
problem.
you're talking. But I cut it off, so
okay.
I'm kind of oblivious to what you all are talking about because I can't hear you. So I'm just gonna wait and see what you all say afterwards.
Okay. Yeah. So what I was saying was, teachers are so influential, and a child from the age from the.
Do you want me to talk now?
Oh.
Oh no, not yet.
Oh, just hold the mic on so that he can hear.
Okay.
Yeah. So from the age that a child enters school till the time they graduate and finish school, whenever they choose to finish education, they spend more time in the classroom with different teachers year by year than they will usually with their parents if they're in a regular school day, when you think about it. So kids spend, like, especially in the elementary years, like when you usually have like one solid teacher for the most part for the entire year, that teacher has more of an influence on a child oftentimes than the parent, because by the time the child gets home, it's dinner, maybe a couple hours of family time, and bed. When they wake up, they spend the entire day with the teacher again. So, like, as you were saying, like, teachers are so important.
Yeah, they need what do you call it? They need some surveillance cameras in the classroom, because it really like irks me, like, really, when I see some teachers who I'm like, you have no right to wear this hat. Like, some people just do it for the money, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, when you see the way they treat the kids, I'm like, you should be like a garbage collector. I'm sorry, like, this is not your profession. Do something else, because it's so important. Like, it's so and I've seen it. I've had some amazing teachers. I'm like, man, like, this person can teach a stone and learn something. Yeah. You understand what I'm trying to say? Just the way they deal with people, and then some people, like, you're like, my gosh, like, how did you get this job? But nonetheless, let's put Wise Nubian on. Yes. And then see what he's saying. Someone called. I don't know why you hung up, because I said I was gonna put you on mute so my wife could finish her thought, and then I would put you back on. Yeah. But I guess they maybe misinterpreted what I said. But call back if you wanna talk still. Yeah, Wise Nubian, what's up?
Greetings. That was me, by the way.
It's a different number.
A different number. Okay.
Right. Yeah, 510 was it? But anyway, I was calling in for one reason. I'm happy to see you here again doing what you do. I was trying to chime into all the things that you was talking about, and one of the things that went through my mind was, as a teacher, your teachers, because I'm sure you both taught English there when you was there. I was thinking, why don't you do something that goes against the xenophobic and all the things they call it out there, that would really encourage and be creative, like give them a blast of culture that represents your original people from the motherland, and put it from the colors to the creativity to the language of not just English, but the spin on that, showing the creativity of how to find yourself to be even more creative in teaching English, and making it even easier for them, and allowing them to have the grace and the love to respect you as an individual of African descent, as they call us, if that make any sense. I was thinking that because I was thinking, we are very unique people. We're very prudent and passionate. And we're always trying to cater to everyone else need with love and passion. So why not just show them a better way because they have been taught to be unyielding and just like focused in front of them without any uh, overstanding that there's other options in life the way the Japanese do it over there. And I was
No,
thinking maybe, go ahead, I'm sorry.
no, no. I understand what you're saying, and some people do that, right? You're talking about maybe some people incorporate stuff like that in their lesson
Yeah,
planning,
yeah,
right?
for
So
sure.
some people do that definitely because like you have like a sort of a level of agency when it comes on to your lesson planning, maybe like
Hmm.
almost completely, almost what's the word, autonomy, sorry. So you Jay can chime in even better with that, like, so people do that, right? They incorporate stuff about different subject matter just so that they can teach the kids different things as well. So that's there, and they do have. I've actually seen outside of the classroom, they do have what do you call it, like African festivals and stuff
Yeah.
like that, where you
Hmm.
can go and you can see the regalias, you can see the different food stuff and all sorts of African
Music,
produce and stuff like
dance.
that, music and dance and all those things. Sorry, and it's in Japan, and they can go and check it out. So things like that happen, of
Yeah.
course, but more can definitely be done, definitely. But it's those things, those wheels are turning.
Yeah, in regards to their education system, I wouldn't say that they necessarily teach a certain thing. What I've noticed, at least being a teacher here in Japan and just seeing how it is that they just don't cover certain things. It's not necessarily that they're
Right.
teaching that they're teaching anything specifically negative about a certain people or a culture, but they just literally teach nothing on the subject. So whatever
Exactly.
so
And
whatever they see through the media or get exposed to through whatever they watch or see of from foreigners is is what they're gonna think, know, or understand. So teachers who are here on an individual basis definitely I hear people share ideas and stuff, and of course, like when I can, when certain things happen or think or I have the opportunity to, I inject a lesson here or two about where I'm from and for them to understand my culture. But yeah, it's definitely on an individual basis. But like I said, there's a lot of ignorance here, um, even geographically.
oh, without
For
a
for
doubt,
for
I can imagine.
so I think that's just one of the main things is that it's just excluded from the education. And you kind of understand, well, you don't really understand why, but it's just like, okay, most Japanese people, I mean, a lot of Japanese people do travel, and there I think there's a certain type of people who do like to travel and do like to explore other cultures, and then there's another type, or there are others who are very like home based and they only travel within their country and don't really know anything else. So it's not necessarily that they want to be ignorant. They just or maybe I don't know, but they're just not really searching for it. You understand?
the There was one thing that
Right.
when I was interviewing Dr. Akot in South Korea, there's something that he said. Sorry, there's something that he said that well, one of the things he said was very disheartening. When he was studying Korean, he said there was a book that he was learning from that actually identified Africa within the book, within the text that they were learning from, identified Africa as one, a country, and identified Africa as the poorest country in the world. We know that those two are lies.
Wow. When it's
So
actually the opposite.
this was a book, right? So this was being taught in the classroom that he was actually in. This is a doctor I'm talking about. And when he was learning the language, one of the books had that. I was going to ask him the title, but I never did. But I guess I'll ask him and see if I can find the title of this book because that needs to be corrected. So now you're in a classroom where I believe, so the people who are writing this book, this is what they believe, and of course this is false, so that's a problem. So now this is like being perpetuated because, or promulgated, why? Because it's in the text and someone write it, someone else read it, they believe it because there's no other source, and the media reinforces this false reality and they digest this thing and they take it on. And what he said he learned was that once he got the language, because usually they would say stuff that he couldn't, like understand or defend. But he's like, now
Right.
that he's fluent in the language, whenever they have some type of discussion and they have something to say that's false, he can take them on in the argument.
Right.
And he said he always wins. Why? Because what they're talking about is false, and because he can articulate himself effectively.
Yeah.
They understand now. So these people who had this misconception about Africa or black people were now educated because he was armed with the tools that are necessary to impart knowledge.
Yeah.
So that's
Right,
something
right.
you got to think about as well. So if we're armed with that, and the thing is, I don't even think that's the only book that has stuff like that, because like there's a level of ignorance, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like if you have a book, you're talking about a book. We're not talking about a typo. That happens, right? If the sub editors are not that good or the proofreaders are not that good, stuff happens. But we're talking about like falsehood, like things that are not factual.
Yeah.
So that's another thing as well, and it might be even more widespread than we think. But classroom, you can teach kids stuff, and the next one is if you have the language, then you can engage in debates, and you can encourage people. Because he's like,
Right.
last thing I'm going to say, he was like, even some of his patients and stuff, the moment they hear that he can speak Korean and certain things, they start asking a barrage of questions, like a battery of questions. They're asking him this and that and that, and then now we can talk to them, right? So the language is definitely
Man,
important.
Yeah.
no, I totally understand. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. You were gonna say something?
Well, I wanted to make sure you get all your thoughts out because I didn't want to interrupt because he was on fire and I wanted to share that because my narrative was basically to encourage you all by being ambassadors over in Japan. You are ambassadors of the motherland, whether you know it or not. And even though you have people all over the motherland, you're representing everyone just because of the texture of your skin. And you may not know all of the details of every culture, but you can be a liaison to tell people, look, we are so different. Each culture, just like Korean is different from Jamaica. Correction. Korea is different from China. China is different from Japan. So is Ghana different from Senegal, and the Wolof people language is different from the Benin and the Hausa, and they have to understand that they're not little tribes; these are nations. And when you have over 1 million people, each group of people have their own nation now, whether the Europeans acknowledge it or not. So you have the unique advantage to let people know the truth without being blocked by Europeans' dictation of things that is not accurate whatsoever about who we are as a people. We have a language, a culture, a history, a foundation. We have done unbelievable scientific achievements. We have the richest continent in the whole world. The continent has never been uprooted. Everything broke away from the continent. There are so many avenues that you can share and teach these people, these xenophobic or whatever you want to call them, people, and they can't debate logic. You hit them with logic. You explain even the texture of our hair is an advantage because the oil in the hair of our texture allows us to generate the protection that keeps us and protects us from the sun. The skin pigmentation helps with the demelanin and help us to be more healthier than anybody else on the planet. We have so many great things that we can share, and we're not being arrogant or putting people in a negative spot. We're just teaching facts. And they have a lot of good healthy eating in Japan. And we can encourage people of color to direct their energy toward that type of eating. We will be even more healthier. So I'm just dealing with a lot of prudent facts that can encourage them to love, respect, and honor people of color from the motherland as well as the islands. So that's kind of where I was coming from.
Yeah, understood. No, we understand. I understand. The most that you can do is, because no one can control anyone. You can just provide information, right? That's it, right? So it's not about coercion. You can't, like force people to do whatever it is, but you can present the information and then you see what happens. Just like what we're talking about with mindset and different things that people need to do to improve their position. You can present the information and then they now have, the option to take it on or not, all right? The goal, I guess, of what we're doing is twofold. Which is one is to inspire other black people to do more, to become a greater version of themselves, or the greatest version that they can become of themselves, and also by a byproduct of this, because this is not the main thing that we're trying to do, but a byproduct of the work that we're doing is that other people on the peripheral, they can I guess look and say, oh snap, okay, they might learn something, and then they might drop a few stereotypes, and maybe it might help to erode the prejudice that they have. So that's like a byproduct. But I think so. Those are two things that we're trying to target. So one primarily is inspire our people to do more, to aspire to become greater, and then a byproduct of that inevitably will be for those people who can, who are open-minded. They can see stuff and be influenced and say, you know what, wow, okay, I was wrong. I was looking at things the wrong way. So that is
Right.
that's it. Yeah. So yeah. So anything else? What's new, Ben? Because we're gonna close off in about
I
5 minutes.
I apologize. Yeah.
No,
Okay, I'll
no,
try
no,
to
No,
be
it's okay.
quick.
No,
no.
no, that's
I,
I'm not running you off. I'm just making you aware.
right. It's true that. One last thing I want to say is, once again, you are in a great position being in Japan, and you have the world is your oyster. You could do so many creative things. And I know you're doing a lot, and I don't want to put more on your plate, but I'm like happy for you, excited for you. So when I look at you, I'm like, oh wow, they can do this and this and this and this. They can do this and that, and get all excited for you, even though you may have been there, done that, and passed on to the next level. But I'm just saying, like even writing or having or finding someone who could do animation, African animation, Japanese style there. That will bring our people in a better light and show the beauty of who we are. Or having a culture center that can, excuse me, show so many different types of edible foods that would be good, or the creativity behind, because we're a master of spices, and I'm sure they would love that. And and I'm not even talking about dancing and just it's so many different things we do. And I know you're already on it, and I know there's professionals that's doing it. I just want to see what you're doing already to bring more people together, like you're already interviewing them, but encourage them to actually come together and support one another and build a culture center that will represent our people. Yeah, just okay. I'm gonna shut up now. I just want to encourage that because I have faith in you all, and you're wonderful people, and I love you very much. So that's why I was saying
Oh,
all that stuff. So y'all have a peace and bless. Okay,
No problem, man.
thank
Thanks
you,
for
Wife
calling.
Navian. Thank you for calling.
respect.
Peace
Thank you
and
for
bless.
Yeah,
taking my call.
no problem.
All right,
All right,
respect.
take care, man. Yeah, someone was asking if we're in Japan. We are in Japan.
No, not us. Somebody was asking Fred Oprah if they're in Japan.
Oh, okay. So, any
Um,
final words? Because we're.
yeah, I'm not sure if there's still time for. I mean,
Oh no
I
no no
don't.
no no. Yeah,
So yeah, Jeff.
we're gonna end now.
Sorry, Jeff Kennedy. I know you tried to call, but then you hung up. Please try to call next week.
Yeah, definitely next week, Jeff.
Or if you have a specific question, maybe you can type it and we can answer it really quickly.
Or via the
Yeah,
yeah
but
the pangs of hunger. For some reason, like the hunger just came and it was like it had me here hostage. I'm like, okay, I need some food. I don't
oh,
know.
it's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
even hunger for
I haven't
me.
even had breakfast yet, and like for some reason, like that. Yes, I'm like, oh, like okay, snap. I need to I need to get some food. So yeah, I'm just like trying to like get some food right now.
Yeah.
Um,
I was gonna share a story about when I entered into when I went for my interview for Teachers College, really quickly. Just because we were talking about there should be a better vetting process. I'll never forget. I was waiting in a room to be interviewed, and there were like two or three other people. And this one girl came in, and she just looked around, and she's just like, "Oh, I hate kids. I just want to do this so I can get summer vacation." Okay. Anyways, I was just like,
yeah, let's
what?
let's not go down that road.
I'm like, really?
Listen, some
She's
of
just
this.
like, I'm just doing this for the
Listen,
for the
man.
for the for the summer vacation
Look,
and the steady paycheck. And I was just like,
yeah.
no, honey. You're the one.
Did you articulate that to her? You never did.
No.
See, that's what happens. People who know better don't speak up, and people who have a bad attitude, they continue. I'm saying you
At
can't
the
change.
time?
I'm
I
saying
know.
you can't change your attitude,
I know.
right? Because you can't change people, but at least voice like your dissent.
At the
Because
point,
I'm like,
at that point, I was like, I think me and the other person in the room, we just kind of looked at each other and looked back at
and
her
that's the
and
thing,
just
and that's the thing, and that's the
kind
norm.
of sighed
No,
and
but
was
yeah,
just
no, but
like,
what I'm saying, your response to it is a norm. Most people who,
I
stand
don't
for
know if she
something.
got in
No,
though.
I understand what I'm saying. I'm just saying that I'm not just talking about this isolated instance. I'm talking about just overall. It's a response.
Yeah, I know,
When someone
I
does something,
understand.
people just look on and they're appalled by it, and then they're like, okay, well,
You know me, I'm
I'm not understand
non-confrontational.
I understand, but I'm like, people need to do that at least to get that in their mind, because sometimes someone may have this thing that's going on in their head and they've never been challenged. That ideology has never been challenged, and because of that, they continue with this thing. I'm saying we can't change anyone, but if you say something, they might be like, oh, they might have a point. Who knows? But yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Anyhow.
People, yeah, this is like another discussion because
let's not
I'm
extend
really,
it.
really
Yeah.
passionate about that, and I think some people shouldn't yeah, I don't know. Some of these schools need to
I
do
could talk
better.
about that for days. I got stories.
Anyways, because the children will be what they see. It starts there. There's just so much. There's just so much. And in the classroom, if you have a teacher that does not care, they don't care about you. It's anyways. But guys, that's it. Thanks for coming on. Oh, Camden Reed, congrats, nice. When you reach, send us a message.
Yeah.
What? Call runs over your questions? Who's that? Was there questions that this person was posing?
No.
Camden person.
Marcus Johnson was asking any advice on good business to start over there. Too deep to go into right now because we're trying to close, so we will stick a pin on that for next week. How about that? Yeah.
What was that? What was that?
No, he's asking about like good advice on good business to start over here, and I'm like, that's too deep to go into right now because we're trying to close.
Yeah, do whatever you want to do, man. Like, if you have an idea, go after it, right? But yeah, so that's it, guys. That's it for today. As you guys know, not everyone will agree. Not everyone will agree, and that's fine because that's just the way it is. But these are our thoughts, and each person has a role to play. Each person has something to do when it comes on to trying to advance the position of the community across the globe. Someone's position might be a little bit different. There are different people, even in time past, historically, who were trying to advance the community, but their methodology was different. So one person employed this tactic, another person did something else. So, but they had a common goal, right? At one point it was freedom, it was emancipation. At one point it was that, right? So I'm saying this is our interpretation. This is the way, well, at least my mind work, my wife's mind work a certain way as well, and this is how we're looking at it. And we think it definitely has a lot to do with the mindset of people, and I understand that a lot, and I know that that's very, very important. So guys, again, thank you for listening. The goal of this podcast is for us to have discussions on solutions that can advance the position or benefit the black community across the world. And as I said earlier, the podcast now will feature the interviews, the M-Files video interviews that's on YouTube. The audio version will be on the podcast as well, so you can listen to that as well. We'll start with just a few of the interviews, and then we'll roll out, like all the other ones. The subsequent interviews will be on the podcast. So look out for that. So that's the latest change and addition to the podcast. Solution-driven discussions, as well as the audio version of the Melanated Files interviews that we have on this YouTube channel. So guys, again, thank you so much for listening. We appreciate you for taking time out of your night, your day, your morning, your afternoon to listen to us, and hopefully you're inspired to go out there, be more, do more, and be a part of the change and the solution that you want to see. Until next week, bye for now, guys.
Bye.
Take care. Thanks for coming on. See you next week, Jason. I think Jason just came on.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.
See ya.